Join us as we follow one-off builds to all-out restorations in Stuart, Florida's Dreamboat District, home to some of the best custom boat builders in the world. From modest to over-the-top, industry experts from the district's premier facilities show how it's done. Fiberglass repair, custom paintwork, engine rigging, electronics installations, and more. And boating editor George Labonte shares the stories of boaters who have already turned their dreams into reality. This is Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat.
All right, well, we're still pounding along on the Ono, which is the Billy Knowles project. We finished up the console renovation, which was a display, and then we added on a compass bezel and a few little details just to finish it up and put it in the paint. The boat itself was prepped and prepared for paint. We got hooked up with a very good company that came in and did a spectacular job on the boat. Lettering for the name on the boat is complete. The clear coat on the transom is all done. Conskid and everything's finished. The boat came out beautiful. Right now, sequence-wise, we hand it off back to our mechanical electrical department, Raphael in charge. He's going to start wiring, finish up the mechanical installation part of the boat, and work towards a finish here.
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat. Join us as the team at L&H Boats completes rigging and begins sea trials on the 36-foot Billy Knowles project.
We're just finishing up with the Billy Knowles project right now. Pretty much did all the rework on it. We put on the new console with the new electronics display, installed the new Fiat diesel engines in the boat. We just got the trim tabs, the Bennett Auto Trim Pro trim tabs, and we'll be installing them on the boat. We do want to have the flexibility that trim tabs will give the boat, and the Bennett trim tabs are a perfect fit for the boat.
I'm Sean with L&H Boats, presently working on the 36 Billy Knowles. I actually was involved in the original construction of that boat back in '89 when we put it together. We're looking for some transom lift on the boat. The new owner fishes for wahoo at 16 knots, so he wants to be able to plane the boat out at a slower speed and keep it riding flat where he wants it to run. The original trim tab planes were not adequate and they were flexing under load, so we contacted Bennett. They gave us suggestions on what to do, so we modified the trim planes. Trim tab actuators had to be bottom painted for anti-fouling prior to installation because the pockets that are in the boat were narrow to the point to where you couldn't get behind them and get them painted properly. So we pre-anti-fouling painted the actuators before we installed them. The original hydraulic fittings that came with the tabs were not adequate for the hull thickness that we were dealing with, so we had to modify the hydraulic installation. We deleted the brass nipples that come with the actuators, and we went compression direct to the trim tab actuator. Being that it was a wood boat, we had to enlarge the hydraulic line holes because of the way we had to install them with a compression fitting direct to the actuator. So after you open them up, you're exposing raw wood, so we use epoxy to seal up all the wood prior to bedding it with 5200. The way the recessions in the hull were, every bolt had to be a different length because we were restricted with our height in the boat because of the deck beams. So every bolt had to be test fit, cut the length, and refit.
We finished installing the tabs and we're heading to the water. The sea trial on the boat was excellent. This boat back in the day had the Caterpillar 3208s in it. Cruising speed was somewhere in the mid-20s to high 20s. We're cruising now at a little over 30 knots on the boat. Top end's 38, 39 knots. The boat runs really sweet at that speed. It's a really well-handling boat. Has no problems when it gets up into the higher speeds. And then, as well as that, the owner's very particular about how the boat runs, particularly at fishing speeds, which for him, he's a wahoo fisherman, so he's fishing 15, 16, 17 knots. So he wants a boat that has a performance attitude that's similar to its cruising attitude. This is something that we're going to have to rely on the trim tabs to help us with as well. So we've took some measurements at all the different speeds we ran on the boat today, and at the cruising speed of the boat, top end and cruising speed of the boat, we were right where we wanted to be. We're right around 3 degrees of incline in the boat, bow attitude up. So that's worked real well. We're a little off when we get down around 16 knots, which is the fishing speed of this boat. And we're gonna throw a bunch of this information at Billy Knowles, the builder of the boat, the propeller people that do the propeller work for us, and see if we can come up with an answer to try to create a boat that has a proper attitude while it's cruising at 30 knots, and then a similar attitude in the water when it's fishing at 16 knots.